All right, let's jump into best bets for this week's Sentry Tournament of Champions. This is where we scour the entirety of Caesars Sportsbook. We run the numbers on every single one. We cross them off. We find the best possible bet that we can make. And Greg, you have gone with a matchup. And I would like you to tell the world the best bet that you could find for this week's TOC.
This was the best matchup that I could find. I felt the most confident about this, and I thought it was a really fair number as well. It's Patrick Reed over Abraham Ancer. Now, Ancer has a T17 in his one appearance here. Patrick Reed has a stellar record at this venue. And what I've noticed is we talked about this a little yesterday, Rick, a really sticky course history. And guys who play well here tend to play well here year after year, every year, because of the uniqueness of the golf course and all that. Now, there are a lot of concerns with Patrick Reed, but I feel like those concerns are mitigated by the style of the golf course. Concerns are the swing isn't in great form. When you see really a guy struggling off the tee and approaching the green the way Reed has recently, it tells you the swing is not in order. It's not he's just a bad driver of the ball or his iron play is poor. He's having swing troubles. But when you see him go to a place like Bermuda, you see him go to a place like Hero and have success, those golf courses are asking for a little more movement, a little more visualization and shot making like that. And I feel this golf course at Kapalua does something very similar. And I love Reed's record. So I had to get a little Reed action in here today.
-110, Patrick Reed over Abraham Ancer for Greg. I'm straight vibing all the way to the pay window. Daniel Berger over Hideki Matsuyama. That's -125. And KP, I started writing this up a little bit, so I want to make sure I get this comment correct here. Last 100 rounds, best approach players on tour. Colin Morikawa is number 1, no surprise. Justin Thomas, number 2, no surprise. Daniel Berger is number 3.
Yeah. His
better than Hideki, better than Xander. You probably could have given me a lot of guesses. I think he's in for a big year. I'm taking him here over Hideki.
His numbers last year are really good. And if you look at, he only won Pebble. And I think he only had like 18 starts, I want to say, 17 starts. Mm-hmm. It was a low number, but he had like everything was inside the top 12, just top 12, top 12, top 12. Start after start after start. He just didn't scare a lot of wins. So I think, somebody like him, a lesser version of that who's not in the field this week is Webb Simpson, who he didn't win and he didn't really I think he had like 1 top 5 or something like that, but his numbers and like he was very consistent with the numbers that he put up. So I like guys like that. Even somebody like a Rahm, who the wins didn't match up with how well they played, to kind of bounce back and have big years this year.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that top 10, the last top 10 for Webb was at the RSM Classic, which is a place you'd expect him to get right. KP, I'll stay right here with you. Your best bet for this week's Sentry Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, the big boy, the man with the umbrella guy. This is where it all started.
He's actually not as big as he used to be.
No, I know, but he's longer than he's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna. One of my predictions, I came out with 10 predictions, 11 predictions on CBSSports.com. One of my predictions is that he breaks the record that he set last year for longest driving distance or longest average drive. I think last year it was like 323.9. I think he's gonna break that again. Here's the stat that I kept coming back to, Rick. Bryson finishing in the top 10 last year. He played in this event. He finished T7. He lost strokes in every category except for driver, and he still finished. So he was below average in every category except for driving, and he like doubled the 4th best guy in driving in terms of strokes gained off the tee, and he still finished in the top 10. When the fairways are super wide or when they're super narrow, he has such an advantage because he can just wail away and not really feel the effect of missing fairways. And I think he's more accurate than people give him credit for, probably
at times.
If he can do that last year, be below average and everything, but the driver's still there and he can finish in the top 10, I think that's going to happen again this week.
gained 6.5 strokes off the tee last year. Oh, I went back and looked it up. Remember when Dustin Johnson almost made a hole-in-one on the par 4 13th or 14th, whatever that hole is? I don't know what number it is.
Brando called it the greatest golf shot of all time.
Do you know what that shot alone was worth in the strokes gained metrics? How many strokes he gained off the tee on that one shot?
Probably 1.5.
1.8. 1.8. It was basically like the biggest single gain on a single drive that I could find. I went back and looked it up. 1.8 on that shot alone. Bryson gained 6.5 off the tee over 4 rounds last year.
That's crazy. That's outrageous.
It's absolutely outrageous. Bryson DeChambeau, top 10 for Kyle Porter. And Mark, round us out here with your best bet. You have not gone with a matchup. You've not gone with a top 10. You've gone a different route.
I have, but quickly I want to build on what you two guys said. First off, with Daniel Berger. To me, in my experience with this golf course, putting these Bermuda greens is a big deal because they're very undulating, but they're a little slower, and you have to contend with wind. And Berger, I will argue, is probably the best Bermuda grass player on the PGA Tour. And it's with that I think Bryson. I spoke with him recently. I think he's in fantastic shape, and his golf swing's in great shape. But this golf course is more to driving it long to these wide fairways. It's very much distance control to these big greens, flatting the golf ball, and then putting well. And so along those lines, I'm going with a 2-time winner last year, who I thought this odds number was absolutely ridiculous to finish inside the top 20, and that's Stuart Cink. I mean, there are 39 players in the field. So I'm asking him to beat basically half the field. He plays golf down in the southeast. He knows about playing on Bermuda grass in certain areas. He's won at Hilton Head, which is a similar sort of surface in spots. It's a different golf course, that. So, he plays Bermuda grass well. He hits the ball really heavy and really hard for someone who's in his late 40s. And so, let's not forget this guy, was in the argument last year, not necessarily for player of the year, but you had to consider him because he won twice. Now he's at the bottom of the odds for making it into the top 20. I find that asinine. I really do.
Smooth move. I think Brick muted himself.
I thought you muted me.
I did not.
I wasn't even touching anything. How could I have done that?
It's a great first podcast of the year.
I tried to unmute you and it told me I couldn't.
Oh, you know what? I did mute myself. You're right. No, that's my bad. That was me. I forgot to unmute myself when I took my sip of water. So what I was saying was, if Stuart Cink does indeed finish inside the top 20, that'll be plus 188 on your money. That's Mark's best bet. I'm going with Berger over Hideki. Greg is going with Patrick Reed over Abraham Ancer. And Kyle is going with the not so thick but still thick Bryson DeChambeau top 10 at minus 110.